Hi everybody. So the question that we're always asked on open evenings and on visits is, what are the books that you study? What are the books that you do? So I've made this short little video just to introduce you to our set texts and hopefully encourage you to get reading before you even start the course. So here we are, these are the exam texts that we study, so these are the books prescribed by the exam board that we have to get through, but that's alright because they're absolutely brilliant. We start with Twelfth Night. Not many students study Shakespearean comedies, we tend to just go with the tragedies and the big weighty issues. So it's really interesting to look at another aspect of Shakespeare's writing. Twelfth Night is also a pretty short play, and we take you through it line by line so that you know every aspect of it. In that same paper, you'll also be asked to compare, and this might sound a little bit weird, but you're going to be asked to compare John Milton's Paradise Lost, an epic poem written in the 17th century about God and Satan and Adam and Eve, and you're going to compare that with a 19th century Norwegian play about women's rights. But trust me, they work, they are fantastic, and you will love the language and the performance aspects of those texts. Paper 2 often tends to be one of the most popular aspects of the course. We study dystopian fiction as a genre, and the set texts there are 1984 and The Handmaid's Tale. We'll also be looking at The Drowned World, and there's a wider reading list which I'll come on to in a second. So coursework texts offer a different level of challenge. At the end of year 1, you'll work on your coursework studying the poetry of World War I. It's just a 1,000-word essay, and you'll write about one poem, or you will write your own poem about World War I and analyse that. In the second year, coursework is more challenging, and that's because we're getting you ready for either the world of work or university. Again, we bring in those comparative skills by looking at Jeanette Winterson's Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, which is a semi-autobiographical novel about a young girl growing up in the Northwest in the 60s, coming to terms with her incredibly religious upbringing and her sexuality. That's compared with a play written only a few years ago called After Mrs. Rochester by Polly Teal. And again, this is a play which is about issues to do with family and religion and sex and identity. You'll be given a choice of questions to work on there, and so this really encourages your independence, your research skills, and the students have really enjoyed how different these texts are. Often students ask which editions of books they should get even before they start the course. Well, with any Shakespeare, you can't go wrong with an Arden edition, and that's because it's got so many useful notes at the bottom of the page, and also a fantastic introduction. With Ibsen's A Doll's House, we recommend this Bloomsbury edition, again because it has a huge introduction with pretty much all of the context that you will need. And this edition of John Milton's Paradise Lost, we just look at books 9 and 10, which is where Eve is seduced into eating the apple and gives it to Adam. This is a version where it's got the modern translation on the right-hand side. We don't insist on these, but it's obviously better if you can get these, and we've got no issue with people using second-hand copies, etc. So you're probably getting the message by now that this course is all about reading. If at this point you're thinking, oh, I don't really read very much, well, that's okay as long as you're willing to read more. And this is the one thing really that can help you improve your experience of literature and potentially your grade. So if we're wanting to understand dystopian texts as a genre, then you're going to need to read other dystopian texts. The list here is one prescribed by the exam board. However, that doesn't mean that you can't range well beyond that. And we're lucky because dystopian fiction is one of the most popular genres at the moment. Everything from The Power to When She Woke. There's all kinds of different experiences you can have of dystopian fiction. What else could you do? Well, you could read more Shakespearean comedies. You could read all of Paradise Lost, all 12 books if you want. You could read other works by Ibsen, Hedda Gabler. And to help with your coursework looking into the second year, I think it definitely helps if you've read Jane Eyre and Wide Sargasso's Sea. Both of these texts are integral to an understanding, really, of After Mrs. Rochester. And To Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. It's a real comfort book for our protagonists in those texts. The important thing, though, is just to keep reading. Don't give up your reading because you're stressed with other things. Keep going with it and actually set some time aside every week so that you just keep loving reading books. Apart from books then, what will you need? A folder. A well-organised folder is one of your best revision aids, and I will be helping you with what goes in your folder. You'll need separate ones for separate parts of the course, and we do check your folders as well just to make sure that you're not missing anything. Hopefully the idea of owning lots of pens and highlighters, if you are a bit of a stationery addict like me, will be welcome news. So you're going to definitely need highlighters. We write in our books. They are not left pristine. And that's why it's really important that you try and get your own copies of the set texts, even if they are second-hand. I'm a big fan of second-hand books and of having more than one version of a book, often because the different editions will give me different insights into the texts. If you've got any more questions about the texts that we study, then please get in touch. The last thing I'd like to say is that we also run a dystopian book club, so that on a lunchtime we can get together and discuss the wider reading that we've done.